Have a question for me or next week's guru? Post it below. What's up, Paranormal Addicts? I'm Wanda Graff, and welcome to the Beyond Natural. This week I've got some great clips from case number 6 and an interview covering the religious presence in the paranormal investigation field. Now, the clients for case 6 came to STPI because they felt a presence in their home and wanted our team, if possible, to confirm the claim. Our first clip involves Tyler and Chris doing some recreating involving K2 spikes in the kitchen. Take a look.
So they were getting K2 spikes? Still safe. Now I wonder because they were right when they turned it on, so I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Okay, with this I need to go a little deeper. A K2 meter is essentially an EMF detector or milligauss. EMF detectors pick up magnetic fields and magnetic radiation. K2 meters are used on investigations to 1. Detect levels of EMF that may be coming from different sources within a room. As some are aware, strong EMF can lead to a feeling of being watched and breed fearful emotions, and could become dangerous to one's health over time, as the theory is that spirits pull energy, magnetic fields, to manifest or communicate. If EMF spikes are occurring for no reason, it could be a sign of spirit manifestation. Now, the countertops of the residence were made of granite. According to our research, granite has been recently found to potentially contain uranium deposits, which release radon gas or ionized radiation over time. Prolonged radon gas exposure is known to cause the same reactions as high EMF levels. In this case, with no electromagnetic source other than the wireless cam, which was a fair distance from our K2, our investigators' hands may have come in contact with released radon gas and caused the spikes, or the countertops were releasing the gas mixing with ions in the air to incur the spikes. Either way, it wouldn't hurt paranormal teams to invest in a Geiger counter for investigations to assist in detecting invisible radiation as a safety precaution for both your team and your clients. Also, it may help you further pursue our proposed theory on granite countertops. In a later episode, I'll come back to this topic and discuss additional ways teams can eliminate other variables or situations that can masquerade as a haunt. Now, our next clip is another interesting twist to this investigation. We start with Mike. Six minutes after he leaves the room. Weird, right? Well, let's try 6 minutes after that. What? Now, let's watch what happens when Tyler, Chris, and Destin enter the room a little further on in the evening.
It's
kind of short. That's what I guess this place is like.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was in motion.
Yeah.
And I asked, can we turn the light off? Now we have no light power.
Be a gas station,
Yeah.
switch on. Because, I mean, it doesn't make no sense, these switches. All they do is when you flip it up, it completes the circuit. Electricity goes around in a circle.
Speaking of,
So they left the room, everything appears back to normal, right? Well, 39 seconds later, and bam! Light goes out again, and welcome to the Twilight Zone. What's really strange was the fact that the light switch was never actually moving. Even when Destin, Tyler, and Chris were in the room, upon their investigation, the light switch didn't flick on and off. The light just came on and off on its own. Stranger than this was the fact that our clients, upon returning and speaking to them about this piece of evidence, they had to say that they have never experienced a short or a problem with the lights before or after the investigation. Now, our final clip involves the motion sensors. Interestingly enough, our motion sensors positioned in the kitchen and the living room go off at odd times. The footage you will see is from our DVR system. You get the camera on the motion sensors by itself, and then all 4 cameras at the same time. Check it out. Funny part is, when the motion sensors went off, no one was in the kitchen or the living room areas of the home. We can't explain this occurrence, and coincidence? I think not. Now also, I've heard and seen a lot of questions about motion sensors and how can they be set off by non-corporeal beings. Well, unfortunately, we have a lot to cover this week, so I'll present our theory on that in a later episode. And that's it for clips. So now, the guest guru of the week. This week's guest guru is Rich. STPI's cleansing specialist. Rich is also a minister. Rich has been interested in the paranormal for years and strongly believes in protecting those who wish to remove a presence from their home. Welcome to the Beyond Natural, Rich. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
That's great. So what have you been up to lately?
Not a whole lot. With the recent rain that we've been having, just trying to stay dry. Very good.
Yes. So, talking to you today about religion and how it relates to the paranormal. And as everybody knows, your STPI is a cleansing specialist as well. So kind of our first question is, should religion be kept separate from a paranormal study, or should it be brought together?
My personal opinion, I believe that it should be brought together. When you try to separate the two, when you have religion, spirituality, faith, and you try to pull that apart from the paranormal, a lot is in the spiritual realm. So when you begin to try to separate the two, that's trying to separate a marriage team, so to speak. Not only that, but if you take the two, marry them properly together, and do the research in the religion side, the spiritual side, and then take that into your paranormal investigations, my experience is that it allows you more of an in-depth investigation because you're more aware of what's going on.
Awesome. Let's see, so we're so successful then having you with us.
I don't know that I would equate our success from my being with us, but thank you.
So, based on that then, marrying those together, there is a lot of sometimes standoffishness though when you mention, you have people that have a really serious religious background and you tend to bring in that element of the paranormal or even to talk about it, they tend to shy away from it. Why is that usually the case?
A lot of that stems from further back in our history when our understanding of things was very clouded. People had not begun to research out a lot of things. And unfortunately, the general human tendency is if they don't understand something, to lock it away and not look into it and say that it's bad, which has led to many different cultural problems throughout the world because we don't understand it, so it's bad, I'm not going to go there. And then you had the trend in most of the religious sects many, many years ago that because they didn't understand it and it was bad, then we also labeled it evil. And if it was evil, then we shouldn't be messing with it at all. And in recent years, people have begun to do more research and more study. Things have begun to open up more, and we've begun to realize that just because we may not understand it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Instead, we are now taking an approach of trying to gain an understanding of it.
Got it, to embrace.
Right.
Okay. So speaking of that then, do you find that now more people, especially with that strong religious background, in the different sects of even Christianity, are more willing now to kind of talk about those things? Are they starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with it?
People aren't. There's still a standoffishness because, everybody kind of encounters, if they have something going on, like say in their house, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to be viewed as weird if I talk about this to somebody. And thankfully, we're finally starting to get enough notoriety in the paranormal community and in the spiritual religious community, and starting to marry them together enough that now people aren't quite as ostracized as they were. And so I think it's a lot better for the person out there that does have a difficulty or an issue that's going on, to talk about it. It doesn't seem quite as strange. It still is to some people, and they still have problems, but we're hoping that we can get that abolished soon.
I agree with that completely. I think everybody should feel comfortable sharing their little ghost stories.
I think going back to what you asked me earlier with, the standoffishness, and then them viewing it badly and evil, I think the other thing is that because they viewed it evil, it's been known in religion for centuries, if not thousands of years, that demonic oppression and possession can take place. And so that was also another fear that people had was, oh, if you start dabbling in this, you're gonna get possessed. And that's not necessarily the case, obviously. I don't
The
think,
whole, oh, you're dabbling this, you're a witch. Or,
Right.
oh, when in reality you could have just been experiencing something weird and then just wanting to learn more about why am I experiencing this weird thing.
right, yeah. I mean, in the name of science, even.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's important to know that there are lines that, when you go on an investigation, to make sure that yourself's protected, because you don't want something necessarily trying to attach itself to you. But not to be so fearful of it that you allow yourself to be withdrawn out of the community.
Speaking of that, about, attaching to themselves, so our next kind of question is, a lot of people have heard about spirits, they can actually attach themselves to a person. What advice would you kind of give to investigators and people in general on this?
I would say that, if you're doing an investigation, you want to make sure that going into the investigation that you're in the right mindset. Just like anything else in any other community, you need to have your mind right for what you're getting ready to go into, what you're getting ready to do. And paranormal investigations are the same way. You need to have your mindset right. You don't want to be so closed off that you don't have a good time investigating, don't experience anything. But you also don't want to be so open that you are spiritually inviting those attachments. One of the things that I always do is going into an investigation, before I get there, I pray. I make sure that my heart and my mind are where they need to be going into this, that I am personally cleansed. The other thing that I do is, before I leave an investigation, I will also pray again and let anything that is there, I let it know that it cannot go back home with me. It's not allowed to follow me or be attached to me. So I would say, be in the right mindset, have the right attitude, and stay in an attitude of prayer. As far as a regular attitude goes, a negative attitude can greatly affect an investigation. We've been on investigations where we went in and somebody on the team had a really, really bad night, really negative attitude, and it wound up affecting the entire night in the way the flow went, the investigation itself, the evidence we got, and it can really affect everybody there, not just that one individual. So it's really important that you have those bases covered when you're going into an investigation, and understand that we're all a team.
Great. So, as you said, attitude affects the mood for everything. That's why we keep things light here. She knows you don't want to see me get negative.
That's a fact.
Not that anybody ever has.
She's lying.
I'm not crazy. Not at all. Well, that wraps up all the questions we have for you, but do you have anything that you would like to add?
I don't think so. I've really enjoyed the time here. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, our pleasure, our pleasure. I love hearing different things, you know, I love learning new things through these interviews, so it's a lot of fun. I just hope our viewers enjoy it too.
As do I.
Okay. Great.
Awesome.
Rich is a great asset to STPI, and thank you again for honoring us with the interview. Now, on to the evidence! This first one is an EVP that showed up as Destin and Mike. We're getting ready to head upstairs. Check it out. Profanity is definitely never absent from our investigations, and we can only wonder why. Beyond the verbal insults, Destin also got this on the digital voice recorder.
Loud noise.
Woohoo! Definitely a response. And a little later, Mike gets some interesting responses to his question while in the master bedroom.
There's a lot of people outside that aren't allowed in. What are they like?
Okay. Dun, dun. Right? Finally, back up to the room with the crazy bathroom light. Listen up. Did you hear that girl singing? La, 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 la. Now, if you want to see all of the invisible flick switching and sounds we caught in this room, check out the extra video footage we have of this on our YouTube channel. That wraps up this week's episode. Next week we'll be talking with Guru Sam, a dream interpretation and reincarnation specialist, and United Paranormal International's Africa director. Our topic, reincarnation. I'll also be looking at Case 8 highlights and evidence. Till next week, keep it safe. Think you or someone you know is a guru and want to be interviewed for our show? Message us here on YouTube.
Thought I was going to have to get a rowboat or something to get to work.
Yeah, well, I made my car a rowboat the other day.
That's what I heard. I heard that you were on top of it waiting for a dove with an olive branch.
I was getting ready to get on top of that car, and then a very nice gentleman in an SUV came and rescued me and pushed my vehicle out of a giant puddle lake thing.